KSA?
Yes.
So that outside party, this contract doesn't do that, correct? Right, yeah, you're right, yeah. That would get us into.
That's what I figured. So I didn't want to go over.
Buckeye Council Workshop for October 2025. Can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Yonker is absent. Councilmember Berry.
Here.
Councilmember Goodman.
Present.
Councilmember Hagestad is absent. Councilmember Beard.
I'm here.
Vice Mayor Houston.
Here.
Mayor Osborne.
Present. Thank you very much. Item 2A is presentation and discussion on the update of the Transportation Master Plan. And this will be presented by Mr. John Willett, Deputy Director of Transportation for the City of Buckeye.
My lifeline. Hey everybody, again, John Willett, Deputy Director of Transportation. My lifeline is unfortunately not Miranda. She said, nope, not doing it again. It's actually Craig Sharp, who helped work on this, and our consultant, Amy Moran from Wilson and Company. What this is the update to Transportation Master Plan. For those who remember, we went through the approval process this in 2019. State law requires us to update this every few years, 5 to 6 years. So we're in the process of updating it, and these are the reasons why. Again, since completion, several things have happened. We've had some changes to the general use plan. If you recall, we changed like some of the employment areas down to S35, also along Verado. So we want to get that incorporated. We had some roadway facility types that have changed, number of lanes, changes in the roadway network, need to modify the truck route guidance. And then we also had the completion of the city's bike and ped master plan, which occurred a month after the approval of this in 2019. Why do these changes matter? Basically, it sets to make sure we have the right size road network, accurately depicts future roadway center lines, effectively communicates with the developers. The key part here is up and down the Sun Valley Parkway, we have a lot of undeveloped land completely. The intent of the Transportation Master Plan is to identify where are the major roads so the developers could plan accordingly and set aside the right amount of right-of-way when they're doing their plan development. And then the last important thing there is to help us apply for MAG funding, which is nice because we don't have enough money to build everything. So what was involved in this update? Here's a whole bunch of bullet items that we went through, reviewed the current studies that have been done, updated the mapping. We did a survey, we did a public survey, and then we've also met with developers. We have actually ongoing bi-weekly developer meetings. We had another one today to talk about the project. We've updated the population and employment based on our new stuff and the new MAG modeling criteria. Came up with a new roadway network. We actually also added the wildlife chapter. So we've been working with the White Tanks Conservancy to add a chapter in the TMP that talks about roadways should account for somehow for wildlife to get safely across them. So we added that chapter in, and then we've also updated some new funding options that are out there. What remains unchanged? The transit chapter we did not modify because we're updating the transit master plan. That was the presentation I gave you all 2 weeks ago. This TMP just kind of references that. The aviation chapter, Scott Gray has his own master plan for that, so we reference that. The rail chapter, nothing's really changed. And the ITS chapter, we're in the process. In fact, we just kicked off the ITS strategic master plan update, so it is cross-reference that document as well. New studies to consider. These are all the things that have happened since the TMP was approved. We've had 16 new major studies in Buckeye. MAG's had 5, ADOT 6, MIC.4. So a total of 21 new studies have been completed in the Buckeye area. For example, S35 corridor studies, one that MAG did. We had the bike and ped master plan did. We have Miranda's bikes or parks and stuff. We've had things like that have been updated. So all that stuff was included or considered while updating the TMP. I had them all on the list. You didn't want to read it. It was like a very, very small font. So we decided just to summarize it. So as I mentioned, we did do a public survey. Came up with some, asked the residents, what are your all key concerns that you'd like to see? Hopefully you can read this. Try to make sure we show it big enough to make sure we showed everything. 1 through 8 was how the things came out. Their first choice or first point of reference was congestion and delays. How do we fix that? Traffic signal timing, we've actually been working on that lately. Street repair, go bond, to take care of some of that stuff. The first one, roadway congestion, also being done by the go bond. Traffic enforcement, that's PD's working on that. They can only do so much because they can't be everywhere at the same time. Street lighting, we're working with Public Works to get some of that taken care of. Bus or transit, we did the transit master plan recently. Street cleaning, it's another Public Works thing. I know they have a routine maintenance program they get around. And then sidewalk maintenance, so we're trying to identify those. So those are the things 1 through 8 that the residents identified. And it goes from left to right, or dark red to blue is what was their first choice, down to the last choice. Another question we asked them is projects would most improve the quality of the transportation system. Street capacity, that's the roadway widening. Small scale efficiency projects, both of those are coming out of the GO bond. Street reconstruction, also the GO bond. Technology, we're putting ITS stuff all over the place, allows my folks to reach out and talk to a signal, make a signal timing change. At the ones we can talk to, we can make a signal timing change without leaving our desk. And then we can watch it right then and there to see how much it improves. So we did a lot of that on Miller. When we heard the concerns about Miller traffic, we've been using the ITS stuff to allow us to just talk to them and make the changes. Increased public transit service, again, that was the transit master plan we updated, and bike and ped projects. So we're identifying what kind of funding we can chase for some bike and ped projects. Future roadway recommendations, again, right-sized roads. This was a map that we have that shows all the roads. This reflects all the new, improved, or previously approved CMPs. And we had to draw a line, and I don't mean to, I'm gonna identify this area up here. This is Old Douglas Ranch roadway alignment. Terra Vallis is looking at changing that. However, what we're showing is the exact approved CMP roadway network. We are putting a caveat in the document. That's part of what the last bullet item says. It's a living document. As things change, the TMP will be updated. And the way we're going to go forward as when a developer comes forward with a changed CMP and an associated change in the roadway network, once council adopts that roadway network, that new adopted roadway network becomes an automatic amendment to the TMP. And then when the TMP gets updated the next time, it becomes just a baseline. The other option was we'd have to wait till every CMP got updated, and then we'd try to finalize the TMP. The challenge we run there is the TMP will never get finalized. Because Terra Vallis is going to update theirs, Leonto is looking to do theirs, Sun Valley South, West Park. It's just a continuing process. So this is, we talked about this with the developers. They seem to be okay with it, and that's how we're going to move forward. Changes in the roadway network. One of the key ones here is Sun Valley Parkway. In the old TMP, it was a parkway. And if you recall, in the parkway that had the indirect lefts, so you couldn't make a left turn, you had to go through the intersection, make a left, a U-turn, then go back, then make a right. Further thought, we decided that Sun Valley Parkway, that ship has already sailed. It's a park, it's a road. So we're going to keep it as a road, and instead of being a parkway, it'll become what we're calling now our principal arterial, which is 4 lanes in each direction. There will be that much traffic on Sun Valley Parkway. So it'll be 4 lanes, signals, access points like a normal type of roadway. Other key thing is I-11 has been pushed to the west a little farther. It doesn't quite go through the heart of Terra Vallis anymore. It goes along their western boundary. Still goes through Buckeye a little bit. And then several roadways were also changed from the parkways to major arterials. It's a better roadway function for us, and the volumes really weren't there to justify them being the parkways with the limited access. Freight recommendations. This is based off the, I'm sorry, what's shown on here, you can't really see it. I'm sorry, the colors are kind of a lot of color. Is we referenced National Freight Network. We've removed the reference to truck routes, and then we've introduced preferred truck corridors. The key thing we need to remember here is if there's an interchange on a road, there's going to be trucks on that road, because that's how they're going to get on and off I-10, on and off SR-85, and on and off SR-30, and eventually the same thing with I-11. That's where trucks are going to drive. Those are probably going to be, those will be the preferred truck corridors for the semis to be on.
Quick question, when you say National Freight Network, does that include rail, or is it just railroad?
Mainly the roadway, the highways. Yeah. The challenge we have with our rail right now, as we're all everyone's aware of, it doesn't go west out of Buckeye very far. and then it's gotta come right back because of the issue farther west. Will that ever be improved? I don't think it's gonna be improved in most of our lifetime. There's just the money to do that. So most of what we're talking about here is roadway.
Have some faith.
I have faith, I'm also realistic. This is, I mentioned before, the wildlife corridor. White Tames Conservancy did a lot of studies. They've been working on this for a long time. The bright green is where they've identified through surveys with working with game and fish where the animals are typically traversing. They would like those identified as corridors. They've been working a lot with Teravalis. Teravalis is, I'm not gonna say it's 100% in agreement, but they're also not arguing with it. They understand something needs to be done, trying to come up with the best way to make wildlife go through the area. And so we're gonna basically recommend the best practices like the last bullet says. That's what we're gonna have in the TMP. Chapter 3 is where it's located, is references to wildlife crossings. Basically what a short version is, if it could be a culvert, can we make it a slightly bigger culvert so Javelina can go through it? Or is it a bridge crossing, make it a slightly bigger bridge crossing so deer can go underneath it? That's kind of the intent of the best practices. Instead of defining exactly what it needs to be, we're directing the developers and the city, when we do our CAP projects, to look at what can we do to make sure wildlife can get from point A to point B. Funding allocation, this is just a simple pie chart to show what we think is gonna be. 64% of the money that we need, don't know where the money's coming from. It's gonna go to roadway improvements, 14 to signals, 12 to intersections, and 10% to other, which is bike and ped, sidewalk improvements, things like that. So this is where I think the money needs to go. The whole finding the money, that's a whole other challenge. Where's Rob? He's supposed to be in here. Rob Roach, he's supposed to find the money. So what is the final product? It's a comprehensive, updated transportation master plan. Updated map atlas that helps guide people. They don't have to go through the whole novel, a book. They can just go to the quick atlas and it has the maps and shows them the key information they need to see. Next steps, we're continuing the bi-weekly meetings. We have developers, Teravalis, the Vanderway groups in there. I just lost it. Elianto, West Park, Carefree Partners, Festival. We've actually talked to the Knee group, Knee family. So a lot of the key people are involved and look at this stuff. We have an open house scheduled a week from tomorrow. Please come by if you want to spend some time and learn a little bit more than you did learn today. Starting tomorrow, we will start the 30-day public review comment. We've actually given the report a pre-draft to some of those key developers I mentioned. We've gotten their comments, we've incorporated those into the draft that'll go up tomorrow. And the goal is to bring this to you all on the 16th for approval. 12 minutes, any questions?
Do we receive a copy of this, of the draft?
Yes, we will make sure you all get a copy.
Any other questions from the council?
Yes, sir.
Vice Mayor.
Has anyone gone up there on 93 north of Kingman and seen the crossings or the wildlife crossings that they've developed up there? There were two of them, I just happened to be up there to that way last week. There are two crossings over 95. About, I see somebody behind you shaking her head, yes, she just committed herself.
Yeah, Vice Mayor, I've been underneath, I've driven past them several times. They were put in actually for bighorn sheep. To get from one side to the other side was the primary thing. I think there's actually 3, but they're so well done you don't realize it.
Right.
They've also finished one recently down in the Tucson area, an overpass, and then they have some other in the Tucson area that are underpasses. ADOT's starting another one on I-17 just south of Flagstaff for elk to get from one side of I-17 to the other side. So
They seem to fence each side of the highway for quite a distance and then narrow it down to the actual crossings themselves. And they seem to be pretty good size. What are you looking at price-wise on having to do something like that?
Vice Mayor, we probably wouldn't have a crossing over. What we were probably using as a goal is where we have all these washes that are going underneath Sun Valley Parkway. We may raise Sun Valley Parkway a little more, make it a slightly longer bridge or multi-span bridge. the animals can cross underneath Sun Valley Parkway. So it will not add as much cost as putting a brand-new elevated structure over at Sun Valley Parkway, because that's,
Do the studies show anything as far as what the animals are gonna prefer, or would they avoid it?
the animals like to be able to see the other end, and so if it's too narrow and too dark, they won't go. So what will probably happen is you'll go partway on Sun Valley Parkway, then it'll be open, and then under the other side.
Yeah, but I'd hate to spend the money and build it, and maybe you don't even use it.
Well, I think a goal, we'll put some signs out there, like the deer crossing signs, right? We can guide them one way or the other.
Yeah, probably are. Thank you.
Councilman Goodman suggested an animal focus group. Maybe we can survey.
Do that.
There's only a few people who thought that was funny.
I thought it was funny.
That's why I give you. Okay, anyone online have any questions? Councilman Hagestad, Councilman Beard?
No questions.
And Councilman Junker's not on. Or is, okay. Thank you for the presentation. Just maybe, if we could back up and give, for the public's benefit, the 30,000-foot view of what this is and what this is not. I think you did it, but I want to make sure we make it crystal clear that this isn't saying all of the lines that are on this map that represent roadways are going to be built in the very near future. This is a planning document for both the growth that we've experienced right now and then also the growth that is to come 40 years from now, as best we know it. But can you maybe just talk through a little bit of that?
Yep, sure can.
Maybe just emphasize that. So, it's a little bit difficult because folks online can't see this conversation. I think they can see the presentation that's been done, if I remember correctly. But it's important that they understand what this is, what this does, setting us up for the future. And then there is a mountain of work that takes this overall plan into granular projects that are throughout the city in a CIP or a development or MAG plans moving forward.
Yes, not a problem, Mayor, I'll do that. So the story I give people typically, and I'll keep it short, is before I came to the city of Buckeye, I had a lot of paychecks covered, working on projects in the far East Valley, making intersections bigger, making roadways bigger, because they were never built big enough at the time. They were built what they thought was big enough. So we tried a different approach with MAG. We convinced them. We call this a build-out model. So we took into consideration every inch of developable property in the city of Buckeye, homes, retail, employment, parks, everything, and assigned trips to it and put it on the roadway network. And it gave us projected traffic volumes for the various roads. And for those volumes, we sized the roads accordingly. Now, what this does, it looks at what could be the big picture of a roadway network in the city of Buckeye. What it does not do, it does not detail when the roads are built, just what needs to get built. And for example, this area here, this purple or pink line out here is the Turner Parkway alignment. While it goes through several different developments, it is difficult to mandate that one developer, you're the first one in, you gotta build it all. But what it does do is it lets all the developers who are on either side of that corridor know what needs to be built. One unique thing we did is, I can try to hold this thing steady, maybe two hands. We have a point there and a point there. What we're telling the developer in between those points is that's where you need to connect in and connect out. If they want to tweak the alignment slightly, and the example I've used before is they're laying out their golf course and they end up with 4 holes on the other side of the corridor, and they go, well, I don't want to have to build 2 crossings underneath this corridor, that's a lot of money. We said, well, then just tweak the alignment slightly. You can move it a quarter mile west, quarter mile east, north or south, but as long as you hit the connection points on either end, you're good. And they can make their project work a little better. And again, this project, this study does not say when things are going to get built. It just identifies when they do get built, this is where they should basically be located and how big they need to be to accommodate the traffic that Buckeye will eventually see. And like I said, this is build out, some of these corridors won't be built for 50+ years. They're just that far out. But it identifies a baseline for people to start working with. So I mean, we know, for example, we have even identified roads way down here by Wood and Patterson. And that's gonna be a long time before that area ever gets fully built out, unless things change dramatically next week. But so that big picture, again, no funding, timing of the improvements, just gives developers, and more importantly, the city as well, a guide to what needs to be there so we can start planning on it. And then as things come in, we know where to identify CIP projects to fill in the holes, because developer Bob is not coming in yet, but developer Steve and Mike already built theirs. We need to put something in between. Well, we know what that is in between as well.
And then this identifies opportunities either for MAG and helps us to tie into their transportation master plan for the entire region, or ADOT, or McDOT, or you name the agency.
Yes, sir.
Really that document that says this is ultimately where we're going to be, and then they can compare that to this is ultimately what Surprise tie-in is, or ADOT facilities, or McDOT facilities. It's really that long range look for us right now. And it shows on arterial roads, especially I'm thinking of stuff that's maybe south of the I-10, that here in the near term, over the next 2 to 5 years, are going to be developed and built out to go from the 2-lane farm roads to an arterial road. It identifies them on here, but then that from this and also the work that you all do out in the field identifying these different corridors that need to be developed and using GeoBond monies, then we can get granular on what projects we're doing and how we roll those things out that come down essentially from a big master plan like this.
Exactly, and a great example of that is just just east of Verado on, whoops, wrong button, made nothing happen, for Indian School. We've identified Indian School between Jackrabbit and Perryville to be a 6-lane roadway based off of this transportation master plan. As part of the GO bond that was approved to improve that segment of Indian School. So we have a funding mechanism set aside, and now we have a study that documents what the ultimate needs to be. We recently kicked off in the CIP program a study to how we fit that exact roadway network or roadway cross width on that corridor to meet the ultimate need.
Okay, great. All right, I think that's all I have. Looks like that's all the questions we have. Sean, great job. Appreciate it. And if you could find funding and hurry up and build these.
I'm trying.
Make everything a lot easier.
If I had 2 more people, I could do it. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
2 more, that gets it done?
No.
Okay. All right, that's all on item 2A. Item number 3, with nothing else on the agenda, we are adjourned.